Dorney Park is a Cedar Fair park in Allentown, Pennsylvania. This relatively small park has a memorable lineup of roller coasters including Talon, a B&M Invert, Hydra, a B&M Floorless Coaster, and Steel Force, a Morgan Hyper. Over the park's lengthy history though, there have been quite a few roller coasters that have come and gone. Though it may not be the biggest park in the world, it's certainly one of the most historic. So without further ado, let's take a look at these former coasters from oldest to newest. Let's start with a quick honorable mention. This mysterious kiddie coaster is thought to have operated along another one named Mini Coaster. However, no photos or footage exist of this ride, and the only evidence of its existence is an old Allentown newspaper article advertising a new BA Schiff kiddie coaster. While this is thought to reference Mini Coaster, some coaster historians believe the latter was made by Carl Myler, so the details on this one are a bit iffy, but it's definitely worth noting. Number 9. The Great Scenic Railway. Opened in 1905, closed in 1912. 21 years after opening as a fishing resort, Dorney Park added its first true roller coaster. This early design, known as a Scenic Railway, was inspired by the Mott-Chunk Railway, an early 19th century gravity-powered railway used to transport coal. This railway, in addition to the 17th century Russian ice slides, helped inspire the very creation of the roller coaster itself with its gravity-powered thrills. The Scenic Railway at Dorney Park would operate for about a decade before an alleged incident involving 3 passengers falling out of the ride vehicle. In addition, it was reported that the ride's structure had badly deteriorated and was in no condition to operate. It would be over a decade before the park added another coaster, which is still operating as Thunderhawk to this day. Though many believe Thunderhawk was the coaster that started it all, credit is due for the late great Scenic Railway. Number 8. Mini Coaster. Opened in the 1950s, closed in the 1980s. This was just a typical kiddie coaster with an oval-shaped layout. It was reportedly the first coaster to come to the park since Thunderhawk opened in 1924 and would allow small children to experience their first roller coaster without scaring the daylights out of them. Other than a few photos, not much is known about this coaster, though it's commonly thought to be a BA Schiff coaster due to a newspaper advertisement. Number 7. Wild Mouse. Opened in the 1950s, closed in 1965. You may have ridden the park's currently operating Wild Mouse coaster, but a long time ago there was another one that formerly operated at Dorney Park. Back in the mid-1900s, the Wild Mouse was first manufactured by BA Schiff. This compact, simple coaster model was easy to mass produce and offered guests the thrill of tight switchback turns. These turns gave guests the illusion that they would fly off the track, which was the main thrill of the attraction. As for the one at Dorney Park, it operated for about a decade and a half before it was sold about a half-hour away to Bushkill Park. There it would operate for an unknown period of time before it was closed down. However, to this day, one of the ride vehicles is on display at Bushkill Park, which continues to operate as a small amusement park. Number 6. The Flying Dutchman. Opened in 1977, closed in 1988. Decades after the closure of the original Wild Mouse, the park reintroduced a thrilling steel coaster to its lineup. Like many early steel coasters, this was a Zyklon by Italian manufacturer Pinfari. This coaster model was extremely popular, with parks looking to add a thrilling compact steel coaster with a relatively low price tag. Despite being made by an Italian company though, Zyklon is actually a German word meaning cyclone, which hints that the famous Coney Island cyclone may have influenced this attraction in some way. In 1977, Dorney Park would end up receiving one of these coasters, reportedly naming it the Flying Dutchman after the large number of Dutch-born citizens living in Allentown at the time. So basically, we have an Italian coaster model named after a German word that would be renamed after a Dutch population. Talk about a European tour. However, with the addition of the much bigger and better Laser in 1986, this coaster was suddenly made obsolete and was removed from the park 2 years later. It reportedly ended up going to a Jamaican amusement park, but has since been moved to an unknown location. Number 5. Laser. Opened in 1986, closed in 2008. In the mid-1980s, Dorney Park officials decided it was time to bring in a new A-list attraction. Their search for a new attraction would end up leading them to Brazil's Play Center Sao Paulo, where a one-of-a-kind Schwarzkopf double-looping portable coaster model was operating. While permanent coasters are attached to the ground with concrete footers, this coaster used pools of water to weigh the track down. This made it much easier to transport, and in 1986, This coaster made its voyage from Brazil to Pennsylvania. First opening as Colossus, this ride would eventually be renamed to Laser. For years, it would operate as the park's biggest attraction, offering guests a wild looping ride to enjoy. However, as the years went on, bigger, better, and more state-of-the-art roller coasters would be added to the park's lineup. By the late 2000s, the simple looping coaster just couldn't compete with rides like Talon and Hydra, and with Schwarzkopf coasters naturally being more expensive to maintain, this ride was removed from the park's lineup. On the bright side, this coaster is still operating to this day in the German fair circuit. It is now known as Teststrecke, and in addition to traveling across Germany, it has been known to make the occasional stop in the Netherlands as well. Number 4. Hercules. Opened in 1989, closed in 2003. Have you ever wondered what those cement footers in the creek are for? Well, these footers once belonged to Hercules, a massive wooden roller coaster. In 1989, the Din Corporation would introduce a new wooden coaster to Dorney Park. When the ride first opened, it featured the longest drop on any wooden roller coaster at a massive 151 feet. The drop would lead straight into a massive bank turn over the water, whose footers can still be seen to this day. Unfortunately, despite the coaster's impressive stats and appearance, it quickly gained a reputation as a rough and painful experience. The ride's first turn became especially infamous for its bumpiness, which led many parkgoers nicknaming the coaster Hurt Your Knees. As you can imagine, the ride's popularity steadily decreased over the years, and in 2003, a once promising Hercules bit the dust. 2 years after its closure, a brand new B&M floorless coaster named Hydra the Revenge would be built in its place. The ride's name comes from the mythical beast Hydra, who was defeated by Hercules in Greek mythology. Symbolically, the new and exciting Hydra would end up getting its revenge on the worn and tattered Hercules, defeating the demigod once and for all for the land it sat on. These days, Hydra is known for providing a breezy and unique floorless coaster layout and a signature JoJo roll that can't be missed out on. It certainly is a big step up from Hurt Your Knees. Number 3. Steel First. Opened in 1990, closed in 2010. Originally opening as Little Laser, this Alan Herschel Little Dipper formerly operated at Illinois' Santa's Village as Snowball Express. At Dorney Park, it shared the same color scheme as its larger, more intense namesake. It also featured 2 mock loops on the side of the track to make it look even more like Laser. Kids who weren't tall enough to ride the park's former star attraction could check out this ride instead. After Laser's removal from the park, this ride was renamed Steel First after Dorney's current star attraction, Steel Force. However, this name would only be in place for 2 years as the whole thing was removed in 2010. Number 2. Dragon Coaster. Opened in 1992, closed in 2010. This was a Zamperla powered coaster that first opened in 1992. Powered coasters are one of the most wildly debated topics in the roller coaster community. While traditional roller coasters run on gravity, powered coasters operate more like monorails. This means that the trains pick up electricity from the rails, transferring the energy to a motor on the train to power it through the course. Some enthusiasts debate that true roller coasters only use gravity, while others say that some powered coasters are at least partially powered by gravity. The same could be said about Zamperla's powered coaster. After an upward helix, the ride heads downward, becoming noticeably faster as it descends. There's not much else to say about Dorney's Dragon Coaster, except that after its removal in 2010, it was relocated to Minnesota's Valley Fair and renamed Cosmic Coaster. It features new colorful trains and actually fits into the park's Plant Snoopy area pretty nicely. Number 1. Stinger. Opened in 2012, closed in 2017. If you haven't been to Dorney Park this year, this may come as a surprise to you. However, the most recently added coaster to the park has indeed been the most recent removal. Originally opening as Vertigo at California's Great America in 1998, this coaster was a Vekoma Invertigo model. This was basically the same thing as their standard Boomerang, but with inverted track and trains. The trains on this ride also seat guests both forwards and backwards, giving 2 different ride experiences. After a 12-year run in California, the decision was made to relocate this coaster across the country to Dorney Park. The land where it once stood in California has since become the new location for Railblazer, an RMC Raptor. Meanwhile, in Pennsylvania, Stinger first debuted in 2012 with a new color scheme and a rather cool-looking scorpion logo. Unfortunately, throughout its run at the park, Stinger would face several maintenance issues and was even standing but not operating for the entire 2014 season. Though the ride would reopen in 2015, it would only end up lasting for 2 more years. After the 2017 second season, park officials made the surprise announcement that Stinger would be removed from the park. What's really interesting is that they did this completely out of nowhere in an article mainly covering their food offerings. So after a few months of sitting on the property, Stinger was removed from the park for good, with a big patch of grass currently sitting in its former location. Before I wrap things up, I'd like to go over the winner of the last weekly poll. Last time I asked, what is the most anticipated coaster for 2019? I extended the poll's voting period, and the winner is the new B&M dive coaster coming to Canada's Wonderland. Second place went to the unknown Harry Potter coaster at Islands of Adventure, and third went to Fly at Phantasialand. So thank you for all the votes, and you can check out the full results on themeparkcrazy.com. And for this week's weekly poll, I'd like to ask, what is your favorite coaster at Dorney Park? This is actually a wildly debated topic among enthusiasts, so feel free to head on down to themeparkcrazy.com and cast your vote. Thanks for watching, everyone. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on social media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or you can check out my website at themeparkcrazy.com. This is Theme Park Crazy, and I'll see you all next time.